were interested. So I am Jules, and before I became a farmer, I was a adult educator and consultant in early childhood education and out-of-school programs. And before that, I was a teacher with young children and school-age kids, and I did that for about a quarter of a century. And then we moved here at the end of 2006 in a real wonderful and surprising and magical process. And then we didn't know what to do with the land because we actually had no real plan. We just ended up on this lovely land. And because Sue went to work for Coyote Creek Organic Feed Mill and made it into a commercial mill, we decided to expand their feed from layer feed to broiler feed and began raising broilers. And that was in early '08. We did a practice block in fall of '07, and in '08 we began farming, or I began farming full-time, and she began farming before and after work.
And some at work.
Yes. So now we raise, we have 2 flocks of layers, but we raise layers. We sell eggs to like Mother's Cafe in Austin and Bar Mansion and a couple of farms. And a new place, which if any of you know anyone in the Hutto area, Sarah's Texas Pantry is starting to, before there's another grocery store, particularly Walmart or H-E-B, she's trying to get the door open with local and natural or sustainably grown foods. So she carries our eggs. And then we also seasonally raise broilers. And I'll talk a little bit more about our farming strategies once he's finished introducing herself.
Hello and welcome to our farm. I'm Sue Beckwith. My background is really in project management. I worked for the City of Austin for 12 years, ran the IT for the environmental department, and was one of the co-leaders of this team to get the first City of Austin website back in the old days of 1995. But I'm real project oriented in my career. I like things that are 2 to 3 years and usually high risk things about which I know nothing, which is how I ended up at Coyote Creek Organic Feed Mill. I don't know if you know Jeremiah Cunningham's World's Best Eggs. He sells at Whole Foods, and they're very good eggs. And Jerry is a vision guy and had this feed mill, this little feed mill he built just to feed his own chickens, and he was ready to start selling organic feed, which I'm sure many of you buy, Coyote Creek Organic Feed. He was ready to start selling it commercially, and so I walked up to his door and said, we're going to make a farm and I need to get a job in agriculture so I can learn something about farming. And he said, well, I want to have a feed mill. And I said, okay. So we started the first commercial organic feed mill in Texas, and it's been very successful, and it's growing. And even though the grain prices fluctuate so much, it's still pretty much a commodity market. It's certainly got its challenges. But I really enjoyed it. I left there middle of last year, and I'm currently working on actually on one of the President's stimulus programs to help rural Texas libraries get better internet access for folks who live rurally to be able to develop the job skills that they need, just basic computer skills in many cases, especially as the jobs leave the rural areas. The ones that are there, you need to apply online. People don't know how to do that. So that's training in computers in libraries. So that's what I'm doing now when I'm not here farming.
And Sue is the president of TOFCA, the Texas Organic Farmer and Gardeners Association.
Is that between midnight and 2?
Actually, it's on Thursday afternoons from 3 to 7 and Sundays.
That's right. So just to let you know, we have a camper's commode, and if you walk to the right of those yellow transport crates, you will see a shower curtain, a blue and purple shower curtain hanging there. If you do walk over there, you might want to call out before you arrive to make sure no one's arrived before you. And then you just go around that shower curtain, and I have de-anted it with a spray, which some of you had heard about. And I can talk about that later. It's a wonderful natural strategy for fire ant elimination. But in case they have found their way again, let me know and I'll tell you where the house one is. We'll handle that. Right on the other side of that brooder, which we'll see later, is what will someday be a completed shower house, and there's a hose there and some soap. So you just got a hand washing station right there. And there's a little sign about how to use the camper commode area, including an essential oil spray to clean your hands if you're so inclined.
And do keep in mind, even though we don't know most of you, we're totally trusting you and letting you see the soft underbelly of the farm, the pre-dump pile area.
As you all know, and if you don't, you're about to find out, chickens will get into anything. So when we take a tour, don't leave anything. Don't pay attention, whoever's got those mealworms. Make sure they can't see through the bag.
Oh, yeah. Really, you have to fight me for those.
Yeah, well, they probably can't figure that out, but just to know that. So we told you what we were doing before we farmed. We told you a little sense of why it is we just got started. It was very much by chance. Her agriculture job was a feed mill, so we started. And then the other aspect of that was values that we brought to food as consumers before we began raising it. Already eating organic, trying to figure out what was humane. And so we bought eggs that were labeled cage-free, that sounded good, or free-range, that sounded good. And if any of you don't know this, cage-free and free-range, they're probably still living in a big building with a concrete floor. So as we learned more, it's like, oh my goodness, how do you get food? So it was that value of wanting to be a part of offering really good food. Organic, yeah, because I don't like GMOs or petrochemicals or pharmaceuticals, but a karmically healthy and happy food too, because the animals had decent lives. So that's really, and on our logo it says humane, organic, and local. And putting all that together is sustainable in our mind. If that guides our practices, if it's humane, it's not that we don't make mistakes, as our Flock 3 Dusty World is a testament to. We still make mistakes, but the goal is very clear. It's going to be very clean food, and it's going to be a really good life for chickens along the way, or cows, as the case may be, and maybe pigs someday. We're talking about it. Limits to our growth is money and labor. Quite frankly, it's not a lack of imagination. It's certainly not a lack of project management skills, but we survive because she has a full-time job, and so that means that we have one full-time farmer who's in her 50s and can only do so much. So that's part of our limit, and then the other is totally financial. That when our government gets some priorities that pays money to people who are raising food the way we do, then maybe we'll actually have the money we have to expand what we can offer. And in the meantime, we just go on, and that's the way it goes. And it's pretty good. So when we do a tour, I can show you more, but the overview is our first flock of layers, flock 1, those are the gals for sale. They're 2.5. All of our layers come out of Bryan, out of the Highline Company. They're Rhode Island Red, Leghorn hybrid. They do, in fact, do everything that chickens do. They get broody, they sit their nests, they make babies. Their babies are white with this kind of flecking on them, but the Leghorn really comes through with the babies. So they don't breed true. They return to that Leghorn primary color. It's really fascinating. And we did get a boy with flock 3. Somehow he got through the cull at hatch. So our garçon, we had to name him garçon because he's a boy.
Oh, what a cool name.
Shows what that looks like when you actually have a boy. And the reason why we do that is the lay rate needs to be high to make it possible to feed organic. And it's one reason why you pass them on. You're actually supposed to pass them on at 18 months. But, you know, they really just really did their dip in winter when all the chickens do. We don't do artificial lighting. Oh, well, geez. Thank you, Captain. Such a thing.